Hey everyone, and welcome to the happiest hour on earth. We are so excited that you are here to join us. Tonight we are going to be talking about a very difficult subject. We're going to be talking about the best queues in Disneyland and Disney World. And we originally were going to do this together. We were going to actually rank them together. Then we realized we have some different ideas of what makes a queue the best. And so we decided, you know what? Let's rank our top 10 individually, and let's see how many line up and how many don't. And I know ours might be very different from your guys's. This was so hard to rank, and so we really want to know what your guys's top queues are. But with that, I think we should get this show started. Let's go.
Okay, so before we get started on our discussion about Disney queues, let's talk about the drink that we made tonight.
Yeah.
So the drink tonight is going to be called Jenn's Tattoo. Chris found this recipe for us to make. I made it tonight. This drink can be found at Nomad Lounge in Discovery Island in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
So
we haven't actually tried this yet.
We have not.
Yeah.
And it looks really good. The ingredients all sound like they're going to go really well together. So I'm kind of excited to give it a shot.
I am too,
Got this nice, delicious hibiscus flower on top with a little lime underneath.
If you guys haven't eaten a hibiscus flower before, it kind of tastes like a fruit roll-up. It's pretty good. Like when it's in its syrup and all that, it's actually pretty tasty.
It is really tasty. Not sure how well you can see it if you're watching on YouTube. It does look like a little tiny octopus, which is a little creepy.
It's a little scary. Yeah.
When you're making it and there's just like a jar of little octopus flowers.
Yeah. Doesn't taste like octopus.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's flowers. It's just in syrup, so it looks really funny. But anyways, we're going to give this a shot.
Should we try it? Let's go. Cheers.
Ooh.
I like that.
Ooh, it's good.
I like that because, I mean, it is
like
sweet.
Candy,
it is sweet,
but it's not
but watermelon,
sweet.
Yeah, I feel like watermelon kind of is really refreshing without it being overly sweet. Like, right, we use a lot of tropical juices.
Which are really
in our favorite
sweet.
cocktails, that are really sweet.
That's good, I taste the lime a lot in there too. I feel like that gives it a nice, like, spritz, like refreshing spritz. I actually really like that.
Yeah, that was really good. And yeah, we have not been to Nomad Lounge.
Yeah.
We haven't been to Tiffin's, which is right next to it. But we've heard so much about it, especially from DFB. I'm sure some of our followers listen to Disney Food Blog, and they always talked about it. But we were only in Animal Kingdom one day, unfortunately, when we went in 2018. But we loved it. I think one of our favorite parks for sure.
Oh, for sure.
And so, yeah, we have to go back, and we have to have this drink.
Yeah, I know.
This is really good,
I would be
guys.
so interested to know if it's, like, accurate.
A lot of these drinks, some of these drinks we haven't had, and we're just like, well, if they made it like how we made it, then we're gonna love it.
I don't know if it's the way it really tastes. But
yeah. Oh,
anyways,
it's so good.
It's really good.
Should we get into this daunting task?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's not really daunting anymore because we have already ranked them in our minds, but discussing these, I feel like it's going to be a little tough. And I'm sorry for you listeners, because I'm sure there's going to be somewhere you're like, wait, why isn't that on there? Why isn't that?
Yeah. I mean,
it's going to be tough.
It's so hard because there are so many cues that are just like unbelievably intricate. And then there's some that are terribly boring, and then there's some that are kind of right in the middle, so it's hard to kind of like rank them. But
yeah. Oh, actually, I know we talked about this, but just kind of the evolution of cues, which I thought was really interesting. Listening to Disney history in the past, and like looking at Walt's vision for creating like the perfect experience, right? Like he looked at queues. He knew that there was going to be long waits for certain rides. And so he didn't want these lines extending forever and ever and ever, right? Kind of like Matterhorn in California. I feel like those lines always wrap around the mountain because there's not a lot of space to work with. But I believe, if I am correct, and I might not be, but I do remember hearing that Walt Disney created the idea of like a wraparound queue. You know how like in many rides, it just kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. Everyone's kind of compacted in there, but it makes the line look shorter than it actually is. It's actually a very smart move on Walt Disney's part, right? Because you're not having these lines
like a mind trick.
go into, you know, the regular walkways, and people are like, I'm not going to wait for that. It looks, you know, shorter, and then you actually go in there and, you know, it is kind of long, but it just kind of feels like you're almost to that ride, you know, due to that wraparound, like back and forth.
A mile away from the ride by the time you start the queue, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's a smart way to keep people in that vicinity.
Exactly.
And like, you know, work their way through it while still being right there and not being like so far.
Yeah. And that was pretty genius of him to do that. And then we see kind of how queues have evolved since then, right? Now that we have, you know, the advancement of technology and we want everything so quick and we want to be entertained as quickly as possible, now you can see there's actually a big disparity, I think, between Disneyland and Disney World queues, right? Mm-hmm. Disneyland were created a long time ago, not as much space, so they can't really do too much. Disney World queues, they are interactive. They it makes you feel like you're in a whole different world, but there's always something to do and always something to experience when you're waiting for the ride. Now the interesting thing too is with living in a COVID world, like post-pandemic world of touching things, and I don't really know because we haven't been back post-pandemic, but like, are they allowing people to touch things and interact with things? I don't know, but it's just interesting seeing how we've gotten from the, you know, compact queues to the now we have to entertain people while they're waiting for the rides.
The longer the lines have gotten over time,
the more they have to entertain.
The more, especially if you have a kid with you. It's like you have to give people something to be entertained with. And I mean, some people find their own ways to be entertained through those long lines. We've definitely found ways to kill time.
Heads up is the best way to entertain yourself.
Heads up is the best for Disney lines. But yeah, they've had to find so many ways, whether it's like scenery throughout the line or interactive stuff. It's really crazy what they've done over time.
Definitely. And so that does definitely factor into our list, or at least my list. Oh, yeah. And probably yours as well. But with that, should we start with number 10?
I think so, yes.
All right. So do you want to start first? Number 10.
I guess I will start first, yes. Okay, so my number 10 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout.
Ooh, I like that pick.
Yeah. I was torn between a few. There were some that like almost made it into my top 10, and this one was like on the edge, but it is a pretty cool line. Like,
it is.
I mean, I was kind of thinking about it afterwards and I almost omitted it, but once you get like inside, granted, I feel like the outside still is kind of boring. You know, because you do a lot of that just back and forth for a little bit. But once you get past that, the inside is pretty cool. And like, you know, I mean, of course, the whole elevator part that once was, you know, the Tower of Terror section, but now it's with Rocket. That's a pretty fun little segment to add in and like very entertaining. So that one had to make it into my list.
And you know what? The fact that there's an animatronic in the queue, right? You see Rocket. I love animatronics. I love practical effects, right? And to get that in the queue,
it's pretty crazy.
And it's not just, you know, a animatronic just to be an animatronic. It's setting up the story. And I do love that so much. Wow, that's a great number 10. Okay. So my number 10 is going to be... we're going to be so all over the place.
I think this is
my number 10 is going to be Splash Mountain Disneyland.
Wow.
And so I've loved Splash Mountain so much. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, it could have maybe worked its way up a little bit. But Splash Mountain is an incredible queue. Especially Disneyland's. I don't really remember Disney World's too much, right? It was Disney World was such a blur. It's pretty similar. But there's so much to do and see as you're weaving in and out. And then while you're kind of coming down that hill, and you see the logs kind of getting ready.
Yeah.
And
pretty
and it's really very immersive, especially I think it was created in the 80s, right? And so that whole, I don't know, it takes you on a whole like adventure before you even get on the ride. And I love it, and I love all the tree work and the everything is structurally so amazing, and I love Splash Mountain Q. But it did rank on number 10. So I want to hear your number 9.
Okay.
I'm so curious where we're gonna land on all these.
Yeah, I think we have similar rides within our top 10, but the ranking is very different.
Okay.
So my number 9 is going to be Haunted Mansion.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So this is hard for me because, like the one I was just talking about, Guardians, there's not a ton going on outside. It's like for a lot of these, it's once you get inside that it's really like fun and entertaining, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's such a classic ride that sometimes you don't even mind so much the outside park. You just have that view of the mansion and you're just getting hyped for it.
Oh, for sure.
But I mean, once you're inside, of course, everybody loves the whole, like, scene.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is that ride was the first, I think the first ride to ever have like a show for a queue. Yeah. And we see that a lot now with newer rides, but the fact that it was like, okay, you're waiting in a line and then now you get into this place where you're going to have a little bit of a show element. And then after that, you still have even more queue to go through. Exactly. Like a quick queue, but it brings you into that. Keeping you entertained
all along the way. Like there's little bits of waiting in line and then like something to look at and do, and then maybe a little bit more waiting. I think it's done well.
It's amazing. Yeah. All right. So my number 9 is going to be Expedition Everest. So Expedition Everest is such a cool queue, especially for a roller coaster. I feel like a lot of roller coasters they just kind of brush over the queue, right? They're like, people just want to be thrilled and that's it.
Yeah,
but the story building, the story building that they do with Expedition Everest is amazing.
It is.
You see, artifacts of people who have been out there in the Himalayas, trying to find this Yeti, and just a whole bunch of other,
so much story to it.
The flags that are hanging down, in the queue, it just really transports you to an amazing world of explorers and adventurers, and that leading up to, the actual ride does separate it from Matterhorn. I mean, Matterhorn is such a classic, but their story building from the time you're in line, so when you actually see the Yeti in the ride, you believe it that much more because, all the queue. And so,
that's so true.
That was my number 9.
Okay. So it's my turn.
It's Expedition Everest, isn't it?
No, it's not actually. My number 8 is going to be Tower of Terror, Disney World version.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard. I was very torn on these first or last 3 technically, like 10, 9, 8. Like any of them I feel like could have been kind of interchangeable. But Tower of Terror is, I mean, it's always been my favorite ride, or one of them. And that aside, because the ride itself is so great, I've just always felt like the queue was amazing at getting you immersed in this like eerie hotel vibe. Like it's so good.
You're so good at that, yeah.
Once you enter inside and you've got like all the cobwebs and like just the spooky stuff surrounding you, and then you go in the elevator, like it's so well done. I just love that ride.
Yeah. I love that too. That is not my next one, but my next one does follow the creepy vibe. It is Haunted Mansion.
Oh, all right.
And so, like you said, like we talked about, let me see when the actual original Haunted Mansion started, or was actually open. But
you are referring to Disneyland version, I assume.
I'm actually referring to I think I'm referring to both, right? So
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion came out in 1969, a couple years after Walt Disney passed, which is, so sad.
So
but
sad that he didn't get to see it because I think he
Yeah.
saw it being worked on.
Oh yeah, no. Walt, I mean,
He was
the
a
Haunted
big part of
Mansion
it.
was built and ready to go externally
It was
for so
sitting
long.
vacant for a while.
For a long time, and everyone
right.
was like, what is this? What is this?
And then
People thought it was
Small
going to be...
World took over. I think I was watching this on Behind the Attraction. It was during that time that It's a Small World was being built, and so it put Haunted Mansion on hold.
On hold. Oh my gosh, and Walt never got to see Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
So sad.
So sad.
But the fact that they were able to in the 60s to create that idea of, we're going to do this dropping elevator and it's going to bring you into another walkway that will just put you more into that spooky vibe. It's just incredible. And I think that was so well done. And, like you said, I feel like a lot of these can be interchanged and I'd be fine with that. But with that, since we already talked a little bit about Haunted Mansion, what is your number 7?
7 for me is good. Oh, this was tough. It started getting really tough around here for me.
Okay.
But my pick for number 7 is Peter Pan's Flight.
Ooh,
in Disney
okay.
World.
Okay.
I know I wanted it to be higher up on my list, as in like closer to number 1, because I love Peter Pan. We all know that.
And you're talking about Disney World.
Yes, Disney World.
Disneyland's is like,
I
yeah.
specified that. I'm sorry. Definitely
maybe you did.
Disney
Maybe you
World.
did.
Disneyland's could use a serious update.
Yeah.
That queue
for sure.
is one of my least favorites.
Yeah.
But Disney World is amazing, and it's what I've always wanted for Disneyland's.
It blew us away because we weren't expecting that when we went to Disney World.
Yeah, I
don't
had
even think
no clue what the queue was like there. And every time I ride it here at Disneyland, I'm like, they've got to do something about this. It feels like it's never going to end,
Yeah.
And they entertain you so well in the Disney World version. And I love the little like scenes in like the kids' room with Tink flying around and like there's so much good detail put into it that I just adore. I'm a huge Peter Pan fan.
Yeah.
And I love that queue.
It's honestly so incredible. I'm surprised at how awesome they were able to make that queue.
I know.
It's so cool.
So what is going to be your number 7?
So my number 7 is oh my gosh. Okay. I'm so nervous because I'm so like, I don't know. It's just so hard to rank all these. But
it is. It's really hard.
Okay. My number 7, and actually this ride is probably going to be, if we did a worst list, this would probably be on my worst in California, but it ranks on my best in Disney World. This is going to be Disney World's Ariel ride,
Ariel's Undersea Adventure.
Yeah, I think it's I was looking today and it was technically, I think, a different name for Walt Disney World, but we all know what we're talking about. We all know the Little Mermaid ride in New Fantasyland. It's insane because we had gone on the Ariel ride in California at Disneyland so many times, and we always loved it because it was like, there was no real queue. It was like 5 minutes. You just are able to get into some air conditioning as soon as possible. And then you're on the ride, right? And then we went to Disney World and we're like, how did they create a queue this big for a ride that like doesn't ever have a line? I feel like.
Yeah. No kidding.
But this thing is just grand as can be.
Ornate.
And that's why I love.
So beautifully done. I was just watching a YouTube video of this earlier to refresh my memory on it because I remembered how grand it was. And I was like, I just need to like see it again. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, they put so much into that queue.
Yeah. And the cool thing, the thing I love about New Fantasyland is not only do you get Cinderella's castle that has been there for a very long time, you also introduce Beauty and the Beast castle and Little Mermaid castle. And from the outside, you're like, oh my gosh, it looks like a castle that has been there for so long. And you can even see the water damage on the bottom. I feel like, it's kind of more crusty. Is that the word? A little more, weathered. I feel like that's a little better word. And then when you walk in, you go through multiple different like phases settings, right? And then you get on the ride and I'm like, all this for this, which I love the ride.
Yeah,
I love the ride
ride's
so
great,
much, but
we're
coming
just
from
so used
Disneyland,
to the queue being like nothing here.
nothing.
Just like
It
literally
is nothing. Seriously.
back and forth. To that, it was just like, wow, they did all of this for the aerial ride? Like, wow.
Yeah, I love it.
But while we're on the topic, that was going to be my number 6. So
Hey,
it's a
number
good thing
6.
that we kind of sort of lined up because we could discuss it that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is a great queue.
Right?
I mean, I fully agree with you. That totally blew me away seeing it in Disney World. I mean, there was in general, Disney World just has much better.
They go hard.
I was reviewing my list and I was like, yeah, most of these are in Disney World because they've just had a lot more space to work with, you know? I mean, Disneyland is just running out of space and the queues really haven't changed from the time that they were built. Most of the rides they've had the same
and they
queue,
can't.
and
They can't do anything.
Yeah,
because they don't have the space.
I mean, I think about how small Fantasyland is, and I'm like, oh, I wish that they could just do something about that Peter Pan queue or like any of those really. And I'm like, but really, what are they gonna do? They can't move the entire ride like back and like extend out the queue line. Like, there's just no way.
There's no way.
But that just shows that Disney World has really stepped up the game with the queues.
Yeah. Oh, it's so amazing. Okay.
It was amazing. What is your number 6?
My number 6 is going to be Tower of Terror.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think when I think of queues, I want to be, deep into the story, right? Like, I want to feel like I am, if it's kind of a more threatening ride, I want to feel that ominous presence, Yeah. And Tower of Terror does that so well. And like you said, the outside of it, you're just kind of like in the courtyard. Once you get inside, they do such an amazing job of like this creepy lobby. But then also like Haunted Mansion, there's a middle section. In that middle section, yes, it doesn't drop down. It's not this elevator, which is, the coolest thing ever. That was built in the 60s and this was built way after that. But you still get some sort of story building in that room. You do get the flashing of the lights, right? Like it's like lightning. And then after that, you go from lobby to like conference room-ish into like a boiler room or like the kind of the basement, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then that just kind of puts an even more ominous tone to it.
You're really in the thick
Something is going to go. Yeah.
Spooky place.
Exactly. And so just the fact that the queue really builds that tension, I had to put this at number 6.
All right. I feel ya. It's a great queue.
What's your number 5?
Okay, number 5, one you've already mentioned now, is Splash Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
I remembered it being my number 5. I didn't have to check.
Yeah,
I mean, you definitely said it all already. We all know and love that Splash Mountain queue. You just feel like you're one of the Brares, as you're
Rare human.
yeah. Like, it's just, they really did a good job of, like, making it feel like that Briar Patch is, like, where you are. Like, you feel like you're their size. Like, you're a part of it. I don't know how to explain it, but I've always just loved waiting in that queue. And then once you get, like, go up the stairs and up and around and, like, all the little like signs on the wall. I've always loved those.
Yeah, same here.
It's like, it's hard to explain because it's not like there's a lot of entertainment necessarily, like with a lot of other queues. There's a lot of like story building and a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot to, I don't know, just a lot to see and like prepare you for what's coming, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, like to see the drop as you're in the line is always really fun. I don't know. It's just a great queue.
Oh, it is amazing. I totally agree. So we're on 5. Yeah. 5. My number 5 is Peter Pan, Walt Disney World.
Okay.
And yeah, like we've already talked about, that brings you into the story like none other as well. So many interactive elements that are so fun. A lot of like even non-touchable elements. I remember like one of the ones where you're like shadows on the wall and you could like play with the shadows above you. Yeah. And so that's a way that they like incorporate interactive elements that you don't even have to touch.
Yeah. And it fits in with the whole story because there's so much shadows.
Yeah.
It's like your shadow is a part of the Peter Pan story.
Yeah. And there was times where I like was bummed that the line was moving because I was like, oh, I want to experience this a little bit more.
Because there's moments where
more.
it pauses and something doesn't happen for a few minutes, and you're just like waiting for like Tink to come back out, or like whatever it is. And it's like, oh, I don't want to move on yet. Like, it's such a fun one.
Exactly, and so that's why I had to be my number 5.
Okay,
what's your number 4? We're getting down to the nitty gritty now.
This is down to the wire now.
This is some good stuff.
Okay, my number 4, also another one you've already mentioned, Everest.
Nice.
I debated on this because I only rode the ride once and don't recall much from the queue. I didn't until we watched a video of it last night when we were prepping for this.
You had a big headache that day.
Yeah, I was kind of out of it that day. I was just like not feeling super good. So I didn't remember all the details until we rewatched that video of it. And I was just blown away at the details and the effort that they put in to like put such a story with that ride. Like I didn't remember it until watching that. And then I was like, this has to be high on the list. Cause that was, I mean, it was just insane. Like how they made that like room where there's like an old school like computer and all the notes written on the wall and like I mean they put so much into it. And I was thinking about it, I was like, well, this was a Joe Rohde ride. I mean he knows nothing better than attention to detail in Animal Kingdom.
Joe Rohde is way too cool.
He killed it on that. So that had to be my number 4.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
What's your number 4?
I feel like that has to be a little quote to put on Instagram. Joe Rohde is way too cool. That's honestly he.
I mean, what more can you say?
Crushes everything he does.
Yeah.
And it's so sad he's technically no longer.
I know. I hate that.
But I love watching the Imagineering story and just seeing all of the work that he's done.
Yeah, everything in Animal Kingdom you can thank him for. Like he was
his attention.
He oversaw everything, and like the fact that he like traveled to different countries to understand get those details spot on. I'm like, he's amazing.
He's amazing. Props to Joe. Let's go, Joe. So my number 4 is going to be, and I hope this doesn't make anyone mad, but I have a good reason for it. So my number 4 is going to be Smuggler's Run. There's a lot in this queue that I'm not like the biggest fan of, right? Like there's a lot of times, I mean, there's always like these engines running and you get to see like those things. You get to see the Millennium Falcon from a new angle. You get to see Hondo, kind of up on his, I don't know, pedestal, not a pedestal, but up on this ramp. And you see the Millennium Falcon come and park into the docking station. And then the reason why it's so high up on my list is because even though I don't really care for the ride that much, the fact that you can walk down that hallway and finally be in the Millennium Falcon for the first time ever, and it is an exact replica pretty much, and you have everything that you've seen in the movies there. You have that like hollow chess game, Dejarik, I think it's called, or I don't know, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but to see everything, and you get, I wish that it paused a little bit there, because the time I went on it, you go in there and you want to experience so much, and then they put you into the cockpit already, and it's like, oh man, no, I just want to hang out here for a little bit. But the fact that part of the queue is experiencing and walking around kind of that like front section of the Millennium Falcon, I mean, that cannot be beat. And it's done so well. It looks weathered. It looks like worn down, and it's awesome. And then when you finally get into the cockpit, which I would say is an extension of the queue almost, it's incredible. Even though I don't really care for the ride that much, it's incredible. Yeah. So we're down to our top 3. Let's go. Top 3. I'm so scared. It's scary. Yeah. No, actually,
top 3 is pretty.
My top 3 are great. I
feel like we're gonna have very similar top 3.
Just like switched around a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe different rankings.
Okay, what's your number 3?
Okay.
Bring it on. I'm ready for it.
All right. So my number 3 is going to be Indiana Jones.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know.
No, don't be sorry. I am wearing
It's
my
a-
Indiana Jones shirt tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
For those listening just on audio. I'm repping. I'm repping.
Lost Ark. Obviously, an incredible queue. We all know that. From the moment you enter and have those cobra heads and like all the bamboo trees and everything, like it's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And then it goes from that straight into like you're just like in
The
a cave,
temple.
like a temple. Yeah, it's like
So
insane. I had a hard time ranking these last couple, but this just for me made sense because some of the others just have a little bit more to them.
A bit more, yeah.
But
I feel it.
I don't know. I mean, Indiana Jones is an incredible queue. Like, you really feel so much like you're not even in Disneyland anymore. Like, you are so far into this cave. Like, you walk so far to get through it, and it feels like you've entered another
and a lot
world.
of the queue isn't even waiting, like, which I love is that they
you
hold
to,
you
like,
back to a certain point where you have just a free flowing walk until
and
you
I always
get
love
to
that part. And
until
then
you
it
get to
bogs
the
down, of course.
Bogs down like right before the movie section.
Yeah, exactly. But it is so fun still,
so amazing.
and like the whole like the thing you can like pull and make like the like
the spikes on the roof kind of come down a little bit, and then the rope. Yeah, it's so fun.
It is pretty immersive and pretty fun. So that's.
I like that. I like that spot. So my number 3 is going to be Flight of Passage. So Flight of Passage. I mean, Pandora as a whole, so beautiful. And part of that queue for Flight of Passage is seeing Pandora in a whole new light, right? Like there's some beautiful like scenery that you don't get to see unless you're in the queue for Flight of Passage, which I love. And then there's multiple different sections, right? So you have like kind of this like cave type thing. Then you have like a nighttime experience almost in Pandora. Then you have I guess it's kind of like the military-ish kind of thing. There's like multiple sections, and then the last one is the lab, and you get to see that amazing Na'vi who's in the tank, and really. So we actually went on it. We went on it when there was no line. It had just opened up again, and there was no line, so we ran through it really quickly. And then the second time we had fast passes for it, so we didn't get to experience the queue as much as possible, but the queue is so amazing, and really there's a lot to do and a lot to see that really it doesn't seem as long as you would expect, and that is amazing. And I'm guessing yours with your smile is probably number 2 as well.
It is.
Okay, yeah.
That's
So
my number 2.
bring in your
so I'm glad that we line up again so we can talk about it. I rewatched.
Oh wait, that was
this
my number
one.
3. That was your number 2.
Yeah, we didn't line up, but it led into mine. But yeah, I was rewatching this as well on YouTube before this episode, and there's so many details from our trip that I just don't remember because it's been a couple years. And again, like he said, we kind of rushed through it because there was no line at that point. We got very, very lucky on that.
Very lucky.
But rewatching it, I was like, just
mind-blown.
like I have no words. Like seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, it is like the longest queue
ever.
I mean, they prepared well for how long that line was always going to be. Like it extends so far, but every bit of it, there's something insane to look at.
Yeah.
It's like so ridiculously beautiful and immersive. I mean, the whole outside part, like you can see the floating mountains right there next to you, and all the just waterfalls, and the, like you know, otherworldly plants and stuff that they created, and so much outside. And then you know you work your way around, and there's just so much more inside too. Like just luminescent lights, and that whole lab part. Like it's crazy how each section that you come to, you're blown away again and again by each new thing that you see. I mean, I don't know if you rewatched it completely.
I watched it a little bit.
We skimmed over it a little bit together, but I rewatched it more fully before this. And I was like, yo, that's insane.
It's up there. Oh, I love it.
So that's my number 2.
All right. So my number 2 before your number 1. I kind of feel, especially since I'm wearing this Indiana Jones shirt, I feel bad putting this at number 2 and not number 1. But I think at this point, we know what number 1 is going to be for both of us.
Yeah.
So number 2, this is going to be Indiana Jones. The fact that it was made in the 80s and it was, I believe 80s, right? And it was that immersive. I mean, it is my favorite ride. I think it is probably my favorite Disney ride. It is very close to Space Mountain Disneyland, just because Space Mountain Disneyland is so fast, so smooth, so incredible, and so much fun. But Indiana Jones, I feel like was the first ride that really, I mean, yes, there's Haunted Mansion that had amazing, queue to it, but Indiana Jones, when I was a kid and even to this day, felt like I'm in an actual cave. And you don't see, I mean, outside, yes, you see like ropes that kind of bring you into a line, but once you go in there, you're just following the caverns. You're like roping around these like crazy pillars and these stalagmites, or what is that what it's called? It's been a long time since I've been in a high school. I feel like you always talk about stalagmites and stalactites, right? Is that a thing? No. Just like in high school, you always talk about those like big old things. Yeah. And all these like crazy, experiences that you're in there, but it feels like you're literally inside a old temple cave thing.
Yeah.
And then
they did really nail it.
Yeah, they did. And then the ride itself just like is so perfect. And like I talked about in Tower of Terror, the queue makes you so ready for that ride. It really makes you feel like you're in a whole different world and that you're priming yourself for this amazing temple experience in the ride. And so that had to be my number 2. Very close to my number 1, but let's talk about number 1 together because I feel like
apparently
we both have our number 1.
I can't believe we picked the same one. I mean, I can, but I can't.
Did you think Indiana was my number 1?
Initially, kind of, and then you led me to believe earlier today that it was not going to be. So I was like, I don't know. I'm thinking that it might be a few different ones, but I think we both went with Rise of the Resistance. Yep.
Yeah.
I was honestly not expecting to choose this as my first until literally just a little while before we filmed this episode. And I had, the last couple were definitely going to be some top choices.
Yeah.
But as I whittled them down and I was ranking them, I was just like, I can't combat the fact that like the entire queue of Rise of the Resistance feels like part of the ride.
Yeah, and it's like how we talked
immersive.
about the evolution of queues. This is the next step where the queue is the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of the ride.
Like they are really taking it to an insane level on that ride. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, it's just I really had to separate in doing this queue versus ride and like what my ultimate favorites are because I know, we all know like my favorite ride is not Rise of the Resistance, even though I love it. It's not like a favorite, but the queue put it at number 1 for sure.
Yeah.
Like there was no way to not put it there.
Yeah, and that's the thing with me too is I think, we think about these amazing rides like Pirates, and Haunted, a lot of these things, a lot of these rides, the classics that I love going on and are definitely on top of my like favorite ride list. And Rise is definitely like, I love Rise so much. I do like, it almost reminds me of Indiana Jones, the ride, but it's less thrilling in a way because it doesn't have the bumps, it doesn't have the whatever, but I do love the trackless ride system. But the queue, the queue is absolutely amazing. So like as you're walking, there's a lot of different things to see, but once you get into that room where Rey is there and you have a hologram a hologram of Rey, which this is the first time I've seen a hologram, and it looks so real. And then they rush you to a transporter ship, and then you're in that. This is the thing. It takes what Haunted Mansion does and juices it up by like 10. So, right, like Haunted Mansion, you have that elevator ride that goes down, and you have a little experience there, and then you walk, right? This is like, here's a pre-show with the Rey hologram, and then it has the elevator sequence almost with the starship, but then it also is way crazier than that because it's actually like you're in a ride before the ride, and then it opens up into this amazing Star Destroyer with the stormtroopers, and then you have another pre-show with Kylo and them saving you.
Like just
the people.
Just the cast members who make you feel like you're truly like being captured. Trapped. And it's like nothing super exciting is happening, but you still just feel like this is real. Like
and that's a part of the queue, and they're making it interactive. And then you have the Kylo Ren holding area, and then you see the lightsaber go through the door and all that stuff. And then they still, right when you're about to jump on the vehicle, they're not like, okay, get on the vehicle and do all this stuff. They're like, all right, guys, let's go. We have to like. Everything from start to finish is so perfect. That is the top, that is like the prime queue.
Yeah. Because you never feel like you're in a line, really.
Yeah. I mean, before the Rey area, you kind of feel like you're in a Rey. Yeah.
But when I was thinking about this queue, I was like, I thought about the moment that you get on the ride itself. And then I was like, this happens. I had to like go through everything like that all happens before you're even on the ride itself. Like that is pretty mind blowing.
It is.
It's in a class its own, I think.
Yeah. And that's what I say, like, I think Flight of Passage is, this feels weird to say because I don't really like screen rides too much, but like Flight of Passage, I think as a ride might be better than Rise of the Resistance. But as a whole experience, Rise of the Resistance beats Flight of Passage. Just because they have so many crazy things leading up to it. Let us know if you agree with that or if you disagree with that. But, I mean, Flight of Passage made me feel like... I was blown out of my mind when I rode that. I mean, it's soaring meets... the majorest thrill in the world. Like, it's just crazy. I know,
it's hard to even explain. Like, you have to just ride it to know what we're talking about.
But Rise of the Resistance as a whole makes you actually feel like you're a part of the Star Wars story, and I love that. I love it so much.
Yeah, the immersion is at the core.
It's like peak immersion. I love it so much. But with that, I think that pretty much sums up our let's go. Our top 10.
We lined up on number 1.
I know. I'm actually pretty
I didn't really think it was gonna happen actually. Yeah. But I'm glad it did.
I know. Pretty awesome. So cool.
That was hard to do though, you guys. I don't know if you've ever tried to rank queues before, but it's hard to do.
It really is.
Because some of them are like on par with each other, so it's hard to
tough.
Rank one above another.
Yeah. But we want to hear from you guys. Like, hit us up either in the comments below or on our Instagram. We would love to hear your favorite queues. Also, I think by the time this episode comes out, we have put on a giveaway on our Instagram. It ends Friday at midnight, I believe we're going to do. But we just want to thank you guys all so much. I know we did our giveaway at 1,500, and we'll probably throw another at 2K, but all the support that you all have given to us really means so much, and we just want to take this time to say thank you so much.
Yeah. I can't agree more. There's not much else I can say, but so much love and support from our community on social media and YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music or Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts,
it's just been amazing. It's been such a fun journey. We're almost a year into this thing, which
I know.
Is so
started
insane.
in March. So hopefully we get 2K by March. I feel like that's a good goal. I feel like that's pretty fun to go for. Yeah.
I think we can do it.
I think so. But anyways, it's all because of you guys, and we just want to thank you so much. And we will see you guys next week for another episode.
Well, we'll see you guys next time. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.